True crimers, welcome to Break the Case. I'm your host. I'm Jen Coffindaffer. Thanks so much for joining me. We've had our morning report, and then we were joined by Cameron Malin. For those of you who didn't catch it, listen, if you are a techie type person, if you want to understand cybercrime and profiling through the lens of a digital footprint, that was the live to listen to. I feel just so blessed that I could bring him to you. He is the man. I can't go into everything else that he's done right now, but I will be able to soon. And just suffice it to say, he's done so many cyber type investigations involving other countries, involving a lot of things that are going on in this world. So we'll be able to talk about it more later. But for right now, we are going to be talking about Nancy Guthrie. And for those of you who do not know about Nancy Guthrie went missing back on February 1st. She had an evening out of games and food with her daughter Annie and her son-in-law Tommaso Ciano, and was dropped off. Went in through the garage. About 2 minutes later, the doors closed, and nothing was ever heard from her since, other than her pacemaker disconnecting from her Apple Watch, which was seated in a charger on a stand. So we have been I've been covering this from second one, and that's because it interested me so much. You don't normally get to see abduction type kidnapping cases that are happening real time before our eyes, other than as an agent. And so this case really drew me in. Also, the fact you don't often see, in large part because of the victimology piece, you don't typically see an 84-year-old be victimized in this way. She is somebody who was alone at home in the middle of the night, in her bed with camera surveillance in a house she had lived in for years, with neighbors who look out for one another, who notice things like that white van they spoke of. This just wasn't the type of case you would normally see happen. We are going to be joined today, as many of you know, by Sheryl McCollum. Now, Cheryl has a new book out, and so I've been wanting to get her on for a while to talk about her new book, which I have posted up here. Cheryl is such a special lady. Every time I talk to her, I feel like I'm back home. I think as life takes us through, we, in all of our experiences, we stay the same inside. That's what I always say. Our roots are the same. Our trunk's the same. It's just our leaves sometimes change. They fall off, they regrow, our branches spread. But whenever I talk crime with Cheryl, I literally feel like I'm back in Kansas, talking with friends, talking with buddies, cutting up true crime. And it's special. I really love it when she's on the show. She said she's going to be just a few more minutes. So in the meantime, I apologize for the delay, but I'm going to look at your comments and see if you have any just random questions or questions about this case, anything you wanted me to ask Cheryl. Yes, JQ444. Did I say that enough? I love Cheryl too. She's so down to earth. We haven't agreed on all cases. I had her on and we talked about the Delphi case. And, we didn't necessarily agree on that case. I still am very concerned about Richard Allen. But she felt that the evidence was moving. And so anyway, we can agree to disagree on cases. I always find it interesting that sort of the normal people may disagree on cases, and we can discuss it. And sometimes we change our minds, or the other person changes their mind, but it's all very civil, and even it can be passionate. I'm very passionate about the Richard Allen case. But it can be passionate, but it should certainly be kept civil because at the end of the day, we have families and things, and so always love the civil sort of discourse I can always have with Cheryl. Oh, I just saw her pop up, Mac, as we all know her as. There she is. I
Hey,
see. How are you, Mac?
honey, I am running crazy. I tell you, everything's been all smooth till I was about to get on with you. And of course, everything in the world pops off, but it's groovy.
It's no problem. We're so easy going around here. And I was just talking about how whenever I am on with you, whether it's on a panel or whether it's one on one like this, or I just hear you, I feel like I'm back home.
Oh, that's
Talking to
good.
my like you're just such a great warmth of a person, and you're real, you're down to earth,
Mhm.
sass. I love it, Cheryl. So thank
I
you so much.
I tell you, it's a great to be on with you. I mean, we seem to, pretty much agree. And when we don't, I always learn something. So it's a great deal.
That's how I feel too. So before you got on, and I'm going to put this back up, I was just plugging your book. And
Oh,
can you tell us all about this? And I'm just assuming everybody knows who Cheryl is. Listen, Zone 7, we all call her Mac. Been in the true crime space forever. This lady is a crime scene expert, so well regarded in true crime. Has been spoken at CrimeCon, authored 2 books. This is her latest book that I really want to show off for y'all. It's doing great. I think she's got 5 stars on it. Who gets 5 stars, Cheryl? Oh,
well, I'll tell you, I'm not even sure how that happened. The book doesn't even come out till May.
oh gosh. Well, there
But
you go.
people are excited about it because it's an unusual story. But I can just kind of briefly tell you about it. It
Please
was
do.
a serial killer in Georgia whose daughter was murdered. She was beheaded and dismembered, thrown in 5 trash bags in a junkyard. And he heard about me through a high school friend and reached out to me and asked for my help to solve her case. So,
Uh,
being Southern, I used a serial killer as bait to try to catch a killer. And that's the story of how this whole thing came about.
well, and I'm embarrassed because I didn't know it wasn't out. I checked on Amazon
Mhm.
and I didn't see anything that said it wasn't out. So I'm waiting for it to come out, I guess. I assumed it was.
No,
And
it'll be out soon. It'll be May 12th.
May 12th is the big day. I'm going to put it back up here again so everybody can just take a screenshot or snap a photo here. Swans don't swim in the sewer, and they certainly don't.
I
Um,
don't. I mean, Jennifer, sometimes we got to go in the gutter and find a victim or find a witness. I mean, everybody doesn't, you know, come to us through the church. They don't come to us through a college. They don't come to us through a Fortune 500 company. Sometimes they're drug dealers and pimps and prostitutes, and that's our witness. That's our victim. So we go to work.
That's right. I always say there's no way I am going to have a choir boy tell me about a bunch of gang activity or tell me about a murder or violent crime
Right.
story. That isn't who I'm getting as a witness.
That's right. That's right.
So, well, listen, I was hoping to get some of your reflections, and I know
Mhm.
you've been on a lot of shows. I'd like to cut up with you a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to go back a little bit
Okay.
and talk about uh, this video. I'm going to let everybody see it here again.
Yeah.
Tell me your first impressions, the number one things that jump out to you.
The number one thing that jumped out at me when I watched the video were the flowers, Jennifer. I mean, yeah, when I first saw him in the mask and everything, I mean, you just have a visceral reaction, especially for Savannah Guthrie and her family. I mean, that's a horrifying image. But when have you ever seen somebody under darkness wearing a mask that's fixing to manipulate a camera, basically take it off the wall, go and turn and get flowers, come back, break them, pull them, and try to do some weird hiding behind them with this lens of this Nest camera? Like, that was the oddest thing I've ever seen. And, I'm one of those people. I mean, I raised a son. I've, been around men my whole life. I don't know a man that's going to walk past 1,000 rocks to go get flowers to do something with this camera? Seems like to me he would have either brought something with him, or he would have grabbed a rock, busted that lens, and been done. But he didn't do that. I just found that to be the strangest part of it.
Cheryl, I'm so glad you brought that up, because a lot of us have been talking about the nonchalantness of this guy. He could have cared less how long he took. He wasn't looking over his shoulder. Nope. He's pulling weeds. He's strutting around, taking his own sweet time. Nope. This, I keep saying it, and I think finally the sheriff came out and said it. You've said it. We've all said, this is no smash and grab gone bad.
Nope, this is not a home invasion. This isn't a ransom kidnapping. This has nothing to do with money. Here's the deal, the way I see it, Jennifer, and you jump in. But if it's a straight kidnapping, it doesn't make any sense. Kidnap her for what? You haven't sex trafficked her. You haven't told the family, hey, I've got her. I want this amount of money on this day. Don't call the police. I mean, Savannah Guthrie said a week and 2 days ago, Saturday, she would pay you. Well, her mama wasn't released Sunday. She wasn't released Monday. And here we are going into week 3. It ain't about money. So if you take money off the table and you take sex off the table, that leaves revenge.
I absolutely can't agree with you more. Revenge / some sort of retribution.
But it's true. I mean, you've got an 84-year-old woman that's got a pacemaker, blood thinner, can't walk on her own very far. You don't need a weapon in the middle of your body that you could grab with either hand if you needed to. You don't need even a mask. And I'm not talking about on the camera, but I'm saying to scare her, to control her. You don't need a weapon. You don't need a mask. You stand next to her bed while she's sleeping and wake her up. You are in control. I promise you.
Yep, 100%. And I want to go one step further when we're talking about retribution or revenge. I still always look at money. And for me, I'm always sniffing out too, who can gain financially. In other words, inheritance, life insurance, that has to be looked at.
Yes. And I should have made that clear, of course. But I'm saying the revenge comes from, well, somebody got something I didn't, or they have something I don't. So the anger was first. The money was still secondary. So, and it could be in his own head. It could be as easy as he stopped by when she was at the mailbox and said, hey, can I clean your pool? And she said, no, I have a pool, man, but thank you. He could have been offended. She could have been very polite, very kind, but not let him pull weeds or whatever. So he's got something going on where he has decided this is what he's going to do. Because I'll tell you something else that jumped out at me besides the flowers, but obviously his backpack is filled. That's not somebody going there that's fixing to, full of valuables. He has no room to put jewelry and weapons and other things that might be in the house that he wanted to steal. So it's not a home invasion. It's not a burglary. This looked like a person to me. If you look at his clothes, they all looked brand new. He doesn't look dirty at all. His pants are clean. His shoes are clean. The shirt looks brand new. The backpack looks brand new. The holster looks brand new. It don't fit the gun, so he doesn't know what he's doing. He's got a mask that looks brand new and clean. He's got a mouth flashlight. I mean, come on. He looked like he went to Kidnappers Are Us. He looks ridiculous. And he's done all these steps that aren't necessary. And men typically are A to B people. I'm going to go in this house and burglarize it. Well, I've got a crowbar. I'm going to pop that door. I'm going in. This guy's walking around the house, knocking down floodlights, taking his time. He's brought, again, an entire mission bag with him. And what in the world, Jennifer, what was he doing for 41 minutes?
Well, now, and I can't wait to get your take on so much stuff. Okay. First of all, do you think he's the only one at this house committing this abduction?
Yes.
You do. Okay. You and I differ on this.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. And I'll tell you why, because I don't think he wants to drive around and have her in the car without help. And you know how people are, they just want to do something with somebody. Like that always pushes them over the edge when they have that person with them that they're going to be conspiring against for this. So you think this is just a total lone actor?
Yep. I think we would have seen the second person on the video. I think if he had two people, he doesn't need a backpack. I think if he had somebody else, he doesn't spend 41 minutes by himself. That's just baffling to me. And I think the blood out in front of the front door, there are no footprints through it. There's no drag marks through it. There's no scuffling where she was not even, sure-footed. It looks like the 90-degree angle drops are almost in a, perfect circle. Then you've got the spray. Then if you go a little bit further down, you've got a transfer print. A little further down, you've got a swipe. I don't see any fighting. I don't see any struggle. Nothing.
Totally agree with you on that. And I think that where we see the splash, I think that's where he turns and closes the door. So
Could be. It looks to me like she coughed. So if you look at the spray,
interesting.
the 90-degree drops are almost in a perfect circle around it. And like if you had, let's just say, a bloody nose, he busted her in the nose. She might have bent down, and you just kind of go like, oh, that hurt. You almost do a circle, not even realize you're doing it, but it looks like a cough to me.
That is really interesting. So I'm thinking it's the pause and multiple drops that dropped in that one spot and sprayed out. But you have more crime scene experience than me. I've done crime scenes for a long time, but that wasn't my specialty per se. So I love hearing what you're saying about this. It's really making me think about other possibilities.
It's just really odd you would have 4 separate blood patterns in that small of an area. But I'll tell you the other thing, even before the video came out, those flowers got my attention immediately. Because if you're looking at the door, the vase to the right has no flowers in them. The left has no flowers. Nobody would use that as a ruse to get her to open the door. Like Valentine's Day, I mean, that's a good ruse. There are women that ain't got no man, ain't got no prospect of a man. But if there's a flower delivery, I may have a secret admirer. She's going to open the door oftentimes. That's not what you do at the dark of night, 1 or 2 in the morning. But I knew they didn't fit. And then once I saw the video, it was even more alarming to me because it just is so odd. So I just had to ask myself, is this person having some type of mental illness? Is there something more than just, hey, I'm a burglar? I don't think I'm looking at a burglar at all.
Me either.
Because if it's a stranger, this, they're going to leave her right there. Even if she's bleeding it, even if they had to punch her in the face to get away. Why take her? That just bothers me because there's no reason to take her out of that house.
I can't think of one case of a home invasion, not one. Not of a burglary, not one. I can't think of any where they went in and something happened and they decided to take the person. That just doesn't happen.
Nope. If you go in to burglarize, something bad can go down. You can decide, hey, I've got to kill this person because I don't want to go to prison. But never have they taken them. I mean, that's too much trouble. I mean, look at the person. They seem somewhat young. I mean, they don't seem 50 or 60. They seem somewhat young to me. Mm-hmm. You want me to believe that this young man is dealing with a woman that doesn't have pain medicine, is coming off pain medicine. That's a 2-for-1 horrible event, that can't walk on her own, is got a pacemaker, is already injured and bleeding. You think he's taking her to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a day and feeding her? And listening to her cry and moan and carry on in pain and missing her children and being scared? Not happening.
You know the type of person I'm picturing here is literally, I know you know this movie, Silence of the Lambs.
Sure.
Buffalo Bill. You know what I mean? The person that is askew. He's just askew. He's got an issue. I'm not saying this is a Buffalo Bill serial killer. Please don't take me wrong here. I am just saying a person that is weird, askew. If you met him, it would just seem off.
Agreed.
And I think that
everybody go back and watch what he does with those flowers and tell me, do you know a man that would choose the flower over all the rocks that are all around him? And then the way he comes up to the camera, he's still not he's still not covering his face. It's just odd. And it's odd enough that I couldn't get away from it.
Yep, I hear you. Okay, I have so many more questions for you. All right. You don't think anybody else is there. Then do you believe unforced entry, she left her door unlocked, or he knew where a key was, or how did he get in then? Because there's no damage to that door, none.
That's another thing. So again, they know more than we do. Let me be real clear on that. He could have gone around because I know the floodlights in the back. Maybe he went in through the back door. But here's another thing, y'all. If you're a professional burglar, you can case a house driving by it. When they drive by, if they're a pro, they know where your bedroom is. They know where the bathrooms are. They know where the kitchen is. That house, you can see almost from the street. There's a sliding glass door all the way to the left. Y'all, a sliding glass door, you can lift it up and pop it out. You don't even have to break it. I don't know why he went to any trouble. That front door has two doors. It has the gate and then the secondary regular front door. So did he go in the back door and choose to leave through the front door? Did he have a small device that popped it that didn't do any damage to it, which I've never seen? But I know when they first said there was forced entry and then we saw the front door, I didn't see it. But again, I hadn't been there in person, but I did not see forced entry unless it's to the secondary door.
I didn't either, and I've been looking hard. But Cheryl, this is what makes me think that there's another person that went in through that back door. And that's why he's lollygagging around, because he knows somebody's already in there, maybe going to let him in.
Front door from the inside?
Yeah.
It could be, because that's the first thing he does. He reaches for the doorknob to try to turn it. That's the first thing he does.
Yep. So that's what I think. And why don't we see this other person on video? I'm not so sure we're not going to. That roof video, I'm hoping they find something on that. The Bureau's great at, they could take a blob for me. I would have a blob and it'd come back as a car.
Yeah. Let's face it. There's some things the FBI does better than anybody else. There's some things the private sector does better than anybody else. And I love it when those folks work simultaneously and together and flawlessly, because y'all, you ain't getting away with nothing when that happens.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so let me get down again to brass tacks. We're both maybe thinking different whether he's by himself or not. Do you think he is doing this for money, for somebody who's paying him to do it? Maybe, how these people are.
Sure.
Hey, 10 grand, will you go do this? Oh yeah, I'll do it because I'm an idiot. We see it all the time. Do you think that this could be an associate of the person that's really behind this?
Here's what bothers me when I'm trying to figure out the motive. You've got an 84-year-old woman that was surprised in the dark of night, that is bleeding and led out of her house, not dragged. There's no drag marks through the rocks. There's no drag marks through the blood. Why? Why would she be bleeding? It takes no weapon and no violence at all to control somebody. I don't care if you're 22. If you wake up at 1:30 in the morning and there's somebody standing there with a mask, you're not going to go, hey, you got a weapon? You're going to be like, don't hurt me. Right? So they have the upper hand. You're on defense the whole time. So I don't see this is about money. Again, they would have left a note there, or they would have called her preacher, or they would have got in touch with somebody somehow. When I found out they didn't take her phone or destroy it, what 84-year-old woman knows her children's phone number by heart? She don't. So how are they going to contact the family to ransom her? And then they didn't for 3 days. So when those things started to come out and they were talking about Bitcoin and 6 million, I said day 3, it's bogus. I said day 1, it wasn't about money. I still don't think it's about money. I don't see that it's about money. Now that could change. Obviously the FBI and the sheriff's department, they have information I don't have. I don't know what they have on the inside of that house. I don't know if they had any DNA off the back doorknob. when they said they had unknown DNA that wasn't anybody in her family or hers, they didn't tell us what kind of DNA. That would be helpful. Did he throw up? Is it seminal fluid? Is it blood? Is it sweat? Is it spit? I don't know. That would tell us a whole lot. Don't you agree?
I totally agree. I'm glad that they found this other DNA inside this house. But Cheryl, do you agree with me? Hey, listen, this I have people in and out of my house, Cheryl, you do too, that are here for 1 second. I don't even barely remember them. It can be a
Right.
grocery thing, it could be a friend of my son's, whatever. We don't know that this is going to be the huckleberry. We just pray it is. It's going to be good. But boy, if I knew it was a pubic hair or semen,
Sure,
I'd
sure.
be dancing.
And that's why I'm saying the fact they won't tell us what it is, I think that's very telling. Because I don't think he was bleeding, because we don't see any evidence of that outside. They said that blood was hers. So I don't know.
Cheryl, do you agree with me she was carried?
I think there's a good chance she was carried. I think that's again why you don't see her footprints or
Yes.
his. If she was over his shoulder, that would also be the cough that I'm talking about. If she was, dangling, that could be the, swipe that I'm talking about. That would also explain the transfer print. So absolutely, I think there's a good shot she was carried.
And then also when I think about this bleeding, this is somebody on blood thinners. This is somebody that has that crepe. I've seen the pictures. I'm sure you've seen them on the Today Show. Her arms are so bruised,
Yeah.
just like my papa's arms, because they take blood thinners. You poke them wrong and it bleeds on the,
Right.
So
Right.
she's vulnerable to bleeding. So I'm not convinced he beat the hell out of her in that house or anything. I think he did enough that caused her to bleed though. And obviously we know those are her droplets. So, but
That's what I think too. It's just enough to, scare her, let her know he's serious. But again, it didn't call for that. It doesn't require that. But that was his choice. So that's again why I say with the gun, with the mouth light, which is also weird, with the mask, and whatever he had in that backpack, and whatever he did for 41 minutes, I say he went mission ready.
no, I agree. I'm going to see if we agree on what was in the backpack. What do you think was in the backpack?
A lot of people have said they think it's a tarp and a folding shovel. If he had a vehicle, those things would be in the car. He didn't have to take that inside her house. I don't think that he had a plan to use some tarp like Dexter. He doesn't seem that type of person. Whatever is in that backpack, I believe, was to use against her, whether it was to bind her, I don't know, but it wasn't anything good. I feel that it was something not necessarily torturous, but something that he wanted to accomplish.
So I think this was just my first thought that came through. I think he might have had some different tools in there. But I think the biggest thing that's taken up all that room was something to shroud her. In other words, something put over her head, put over her, and maybe that's
yeah, it could. Absolutely. That makes sense. Because, even if somebody were to come by or you get caught on somebody else's Ring camera, yeah, that makes sense.
And what I was thinking why he would want to do that also, not that she, just from a witness standpoint, right? What car he took her to. Do we both agree there is no way he just hiked out of that neighborhood with her?
No. He has a car for sure. Yeah.
And
I think if the gloves connect, that only proves it. So the gloves being 2.5 miles down the road, again, if they come back with matching DNA, that makes sense. He went that far, felt like he was far enough away, and thought, you know what, I got to get rid of these things because I can't have a police officer stop me and be driving with latex gloves when I've got something in the back covered up with, a blanket or a tarp.
I fully agree with you. Do you think that the glove, though, is going to be significant? That's going to be his?
Well, I had a gut feeling last night, and I will run it by you because these are your comrades. So the FBI has not said a word. They told us when they had the tarps up against the SUV that they were going to put out a statement that night. They didn't. They didn't put out one the next day or the next day. Suddenly, for no reason, they put out this message that said, hey, on that glove we found, we did get male DNA. First time they said it was a male, because all of these people were saying, look at those eyebrows, it's a female.
Oh, it
So
wasn't a female. I
they
never.
went ahead and stopped that madness. And then they said that, they're going through quality control, but they should have, some type of definitive answer very soon. Well, I can tell you, if it goes to DNA Labs International or Othram or Pure Gold, they can have that profile done in 24 hours. I think they already know, Jennifer. And I thought today they were going to maybe have a press conference. That's why they floated it last night. That seemed very FBI-esque to me, to say, hey, we got this glove. It does have DNA. We're comparing it. And I thought they were going to come out today and say the DNA on that glove matched the unknown DNA at Nancy Guthrie's home.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking for. I've been sitting on the edge of my chair all day waiting for this.
All day. And the thing is, there's so much that I know they've done. When you look at the SUV and the young man they had in the car in the hoodie, he was already handcuffed, but they were doing the rapid ID on him right then and there. Mm-hmm. So, they were doing this thing. Whatever was in the trunk of that car, good and well, you're not going to tell me to go get 2 tarps and have deputies hold them up while you look into the, hatchback of a SUV, a Range Rover, by the way, that also, if it's not stolen, does not suggest burglary or home invasion at all. If that's the owner's vehicle, now we're in a different category. So I just looked at this whole thing by, there's got to be something in the trunk of that car. And when that car pulled off, every door jamb had crime scene tape that was dated and signed. Well, I'm going to do that so that I know nobody has opened that by the time I could follow that car and get to the Sally Port to try to process it. So it looked like a crime scene to me.
You're exactly right. And initially, of course, that's what I said. And then people said, well, it was raining out. I've been asked that. And I said, well, that could be a reason. If it's pouring rain, hail, something like that, rain in this situation, obviously, and you don't want to mess it up. But if you look, I went back and looked at all the pictures. That was not covering that vehicle. That was covering the back part of that vehicle, Cheryl, to your point.
Exactly. From being able to visually see what they were seeing.
Yep, that's exactly 100% right.
Oh.
So we are tracking on all that. I agree that they already have the answers. We just don't about all the DNA. The 2 we know about.
Right.
And whether they match.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We still aren't in agreement on whether it was 1 or 2. We're on agreement of motive.
Mm-hmm. I think if there was more than one person, and again, we don't have the luxury of knowing what they know inside that house. But let me say this. The other thing that struck me day one is when, you learn Savannah Guthrie's mom has gone missing in Tucson. Well, that's the desert, right? So I didn't know, does she walk? Does she hike? Is it possible that she got dehydrated and was kind of turned around a minute? I have an elderly neighbor, and one day she literally didn't know where she was and was kind of talking gibberish. She was just dehydrated. She has no dementia or anything. But Savannah that very day said she wasn't going to the Olympics. So whatever they told her made her know her mama wasn't going to show up in an hour. That this was not, she was lost in the desert or got turned around or was dehydrated or hit her head gardening. She called off something that was happening 6 days later. So that was very telling to me.
Yeah, it was. I totally agree. And really, the sheriff came out pretty transparently on this and said, listen, we have homicide detectives out there, and this looks like foul play. And we're calling off the search and rescue. I think he did that on day 2.
I think it's the right call. You and I both know.
Yes.
How in the world do you have an 84-year-old woman with blood on the outside of her house, and Lord knows what the inside looked like, with her phone and her medicine and her walker and everything else in there, that you don't work it as a homicide? And I tell you, young CSIs at the academy all the time, what is the harm in working it as a homicide until you find out different? Nothing. You're not going to screw anything up by working it as the most severe case. But if you go in and go, well, it's a burglary, maybe somebody cut their finger, and you close that crime scene as fast as they did, that's not the right call. I'll tell you that.
I totally agree. I mean, the problem with treating it other than a homicide, I'll say 3 words: John Benet Ramsey. That's why nobody is going to pay for that little girl
Amen.
who was
Amen.
garroted because of that hot mess. But not today. I want you and I to cut that case up sometime when we're brave.
Okay.
But right now, sticking onto this, when you see this face, and I've got it up there, hopefully you can see it. You see those groomed eyebrows. Where have you seen that, if you have?
Well, I mean, I'm in Atlanta. Men with groomed eyebrows are not unusual for us. Is that what you're asking me?
No. So the first thing I saw, remember, I'm Puerto Rican, for those of you who don't know, my whole daddy's side of my family is there. They're all Spanish, straight from Spain. And then he's first generation. And not him for whatever reason, but Latin men, whenever you go to a Latin country, the Dominican, all the Caribbeans, they groom their eyebrows like girls. And real small like that, because, you know, working down there, remember I was in the Virgin Islands, and so San Juan was our main headquarters, so I was there all the time. And it's pretty shocking. Like, I mean, just being raised in the US, seeing that. And the other culture that does that a lot, for people who have spent time in Italy, are Italian cultures. So I've seen the Latin and Italian. I just didn't know if that jumped out to you.
No, I mean, the eyebrows didn't. I was focused more on his hands because, you know, one of the things that struck me was that glove. That glove looks awful long. That's why I was so encouraged by the one on the side of the road. It's long too. I mean, just for your folks online, this is your average crime scene glove.
Let me get this.
I put it on. It's going to hit me right at my wrist. It's not going to go down my arm. And I mean, these are what we wear every day. And y'all, that's it. That's what it does. And the one that he's wearing, when he reaches out, you can't see any of his wrist or his arm. And the one on the side of the road looks like it's about this long as well. So I was real encouraged that that's the same one. It's the right color. It's the right length. It's in the right direction. And now that they've got male DNA, well, they're going to do a one-on-one comparison to the unknown DNA inside that house. And again, hopefully it's a match.
Yeah. And if it is 2 perpetrators, which I'm still going with that a little bit, it could be a separate one. I'm actually holding out that it's in CODIS, because I don't think the guy who did this just woke up one day and decided he's going to be a criminal that's capable of murder and kidnapping, potentially murder. I think he would have had a track record of wrongdoing and could be in CODIS. What are your thoughts on that?
It very well could be, but then to your point, we have a co-burger that has no record and decides, hey, I'm going to go kill somebody on the 3rd floor, ends up killing 4 people. So, I mean, it happens. This person, again, the weapon looks unusual. It almost looks like something you would see in one of those old Mexican Westerns. Like the holster doesn't fit the gun, and he's got it right in the center. Again, most people are going to hide it right in their back. If they need it, it's right there. It's still readily accessible. If they don't need it, it's hidden. He's walking right in front of God and country. I mean, it's unusual. Again, I keep going back to it's odd. And y'all, I just want to explain. There's no, you know, clairvoyancy here. It comes down to math for me. So if you're telling me in my 40 years and in Jennifer's entire career, we've never seen it, then I have to flag it. I can't leave it until I can make it make sense. And right now I can't. Did I lose you?
No, you didn't lose me. I just hit the wrong button.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. It's incongruent. And that's why I'm saying this is somebody weird. To me, that whole, can't you just picture him saying, I'm going to go in here and do this. I've got my gun right here. I want to be able to draw it and scare. I just picture somebody that has a real screw loose.
Me too. And here's the thing. Let's just take the mouth flashlight where you got, open your mouth and, make it work. Is he not going to go in that house and start screaming at her commands? That means he's got to take that out of his mouth. That means that glove, if it is the glove or wherever the glove is, it's going to have fantastic DNA from him because it's going to be saliva all over that glove.
Yep. No, I agree. And this is the thing. This is why I think it is possible it is that glove. Because this guy would be, and we've seen it all, right? I've seen weapons thrown out the window, gloves, hats, masks, any part of a crime that they don't want around them. These people that are not professionals, they just sling it.
Yeah.
That part's not unusual to me.
Listen, Koberger left a sheath behind. BTK sent a floppy disk that could be traced. Bundy used his own car and his real name. I mean, they make mistakes, but thank the Lord they do, because it's one way we catch them. But it also tells me whatever went in that house was different than he thought it was going to be. So I think that's when he starts making mistakes, because I'm going to go back. I don't understand one person spending 41 minutes, but Jennifer, what are two people doing for 41 minutes? If they're not robbing her blind, harming her, leaving some type of note for the family, like, to our knowledge, nothing was left there. Like, we've got your mom, call this burner phone. We don't have anything. So I don't know. It just seems like one person was so not a professional that we all almost laughed at him. I can't imagine there's two and they didn't make more mistakes. But again, I don't know. We don't know yet.
So let me throw this by you, because I've never really liked this timeline of 41 minutes. Let me tell you why. At 1:46 in the morning, that's when we know that the Nest camera is disabled. That's a hard time that law enforcement is giving us. And quite frankly, that's a hard time they should have.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't anything that's up in the air. They're going to have that time. The other hard time we're working with is the 220, help me out, 223 disconnect, or 220 disconnect from the Apple Watch to the pacemaker.
Right.
That's a hard time. That's where everybody's getting 41 minutes. But I think what people what I was thinking about, he's still not in the house. So he's got it disconnected. Now what is he doing? Okay, he stores that in his backpack. He's very nonchalant. He gets rid of the bush because there's pieces and remnants. You see it there, but I don't see that whole big twig. So it could have blown away. Did you notice also that some of those twigs are on the blood, or the leaves? Go take a look at that. Did you see?
I've seen them. Yep.
And I thought that was interesting. But I think those little pieces blew there. Do you agree?
Possibly. Again, let's say there was two people and the first one left first. He could have gone at such a force out of that door that he created enough wind to move some stuff around. He could have kicked some things around. Mm-hmm. And then when the other person leaves with her and now the blood is there, that could explain why there's no footprints in it, why there's no scuffle, why there's no drag marks. But it just seems odd that it would take two people, even 20 minutes. Even if you cut it in half, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for a sexual assault. It doesn't make any sense for a burglary. It doesn't make any sense for a kidnapping. The timetable makes no sense unless you go back to what you and I are talking about. This person, it's in their own head what is happening. And that's why, again, I think he's alone. I think his revenge and his anger is his by himself. And I think he chose the place, the time, and the victim. But again, if I knew what was inside the house, then we could have a show enough conversation. But I don't know everything that I wish I knew.
Yeah, Cheryl, we're playing not how we used to be able to play.
That's right.
I love it when I have a full deck. When I've got 10 cards, it sucks.
Like if you told me his DNA came from him throwing up versus his seminal fluid, we can talk now. But I don't know where it came from. I don't know what the source was. I don't know where it was in the house. I don't know where it was in the house relation to her. Was it in her bedroom on her, bed? Was it on the floor? Was it in the kitchen? I have no idea. And all those things are very telling, y'all. And it might seem silly. Like you might say, Mac, what difference does it mean If it was on the bedspread, seminal fluid versus blood in the kitchen sink, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Mac, I wanna say this too. When I heard about, obviously it's going to be, I'm guessing more like 35 minutes, but still that's an eternity. 8 minutes, 5 minutes is it's an eternity. So what could have gone on in there? And I think that's to your point of some sort of either verbal, emotional assault of her and letting her know, this is why I'm here. This is why this is happening. And I also, and nobody wants to talk about this, you just touched on it a little bit, but let's be honest, that there could be something really sick physically that happened to her too. When I saw that time frame, I just haven't talked about it. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about it on Main
I
Street.
haven't either, but I mean, we're on day 15, sliding into 16. I thought today was going to be the day the FBI told us something definitive. I don't look like that's going to happen. I mean, Savannah, bless her, keeps putting out these videos. But let's talk about that a minute, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Talking to her mama, and then she talks to the kidnapper and her mama. Then she talks just to the kidnapper, and then never mentions her mom. Never talks to her again. So I think you're seeing her coming to the realization of what's going on, just like the rest of us.
Well, if you look at the video where she had more makeup on, lipstick, it was when she came back and said she was really strong, I think, in her messaging. Again, I believe all these messages are written by BAU, and they're very instrumental in all of this. But you have to go back and watch this, because when she talks about her mom, she is shaking her head no the whole time, but talking in the affirmative. Correct. And I got so caught up on this that I actually started pulling her footage from uncomfortable footage. Like one time she was interviewed about losing her first job because the station went under, and another time about somebody being fired from NBC and what she might have known about it. Her words and her head all match up. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. Yeah.
That's good. Go, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't.
Right. That's good. That's good.
And when I saw that, Cheryl, it's just to your point. That's when I knew her realization. I felt.
Well, take her last video. She starts by saying, it's been 2 weeks. So she knows time is critical. And she mentions time more than once. It's not too late. It's not too late. That's about time. But she never says, Mama, we're coming. We're still looking. We're not giving up. She doesn't say that. She says to whoever has her or knows where she is. So she doesn't even have this ransom note author's name. She doesn't know anything. She has not been in communication with this person. And incidentally, they're all bogus. They're all fake. This is not money for ransom.
So, you and I coming in hot on that? 100,000%.
Yep. And I'll tell you, listen, I don't know any other way to say it. I know it's her mama, and she's going to do exactly what they tell her to do. But y'all, this is the same reason doctors don't work on family. Savannah does not need to be in charge of whatever's happened with these ransom notes. Somebody needs to come out in law enforcement that is on this case and say, we're not going to speak about another one. We don't want to know about another one. If you get one, throw it away. They're garbage, because all this attention is now pulled away. TMZ is doing all this. Then these other stations are saying junk. There was a young girl last night on some news station that said, law enforcement says it's a home invasion. Any law enforcement that would say this is a home invasion has got a lot to explain to me, because there's not enough here for us to know that.
Yeah, Cheryl, we agree. I think the only thing we're off on maybe is if, Jack Spratt over here had somebody hold his hand on this deal and go in on it with him. That I'm not so sure. Listen, huge breaking news, everyone. The sheriff cleared the family.
That's the right call.
Sheriff cleared the family. He had to say something. Look, when I saw how angry he was, do you remember that? When he was infuriated.
Yep.
When I I saw that, I thought, whoa, I
But
don't,
that's what people have been waiting for.
yes.
People have gone after her sister and after her brother-in-law. Even Savannah hasn't backed them up. That's another thing that should have happened 5 days ago. We're going to stop this. Just quit it. They've been cleared. How did you clear them? Everybody took a polygraph. Everybody gave a DNA swab. Whatever. We're done with that. Everybody's got an alibi. Everybody's phone pinged where it was supposed to. They're on video dropping her off. Whatever. They're on video returning home and never leaving again. I mean, this is easy to do, y'all. It's easy. And it should have been done and it should have been communicated, because when you don't communicate and you tell somebody, hey, we're going to let y'all know something at 2:00, and then you don't, this is what feeds conspiracies. This is what feeds somebody that's not associated with law enforcement or this case at all saying, oh, well, she's in Mexico.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more on this. And we saw it in the Idaho case. And I said this from the beginning on this case. They need to start, well, let's see about day 4 or 5. They need to start doing a clear list, just like what they did in Idaho. And they also need to get their little grant like Idaho did, Moscow, and have a public relation person come out and just give the head nod. This is in, this is out. That's what needs to happen, because it's going rampant and it's unsettling and it's not necessary.
That's right. But I honestly think it's going to be pretty quick now. I really thought we were going to get a big break-in thing today, but we just did.
We
so
did.
It makes sense to me that the FBI floated something and now the sheriff is given something definitive. So I knew today was going to be a day. So thanks for that. I think that's important information. And that shows a solid investigation where you're able to rule people in or rule them out. And ruling somebody out in this situation, especially the people closest to her, the 2 people that were the last to see her, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, they were calling her a witch, Annie, and all this. I saw the most dreadful things. And this was what was important. And I'm sure you pointed it out too. Yes, they were looking in her bushes. Yes, they went back. It ended up being a consent search, by the way, which was also very important.
Yep.
Because people don't like to consent when they're in trouble. They lawyer up and they make it really difficult. They did not do that. And also, when I saw there was no search warrant, it showed me no probable cause. Initially, I said they had to have probable cause. Who would go into a suspect's house without probable cause unless they don't have probable cause? And so that's the deal there. And why were they searching in the bushes and in that neighborhood? I still think that they were just looking to clear or back up the alibi of Annie and Sione. And then secondarily, it doesn't mean that somebody that doesn't live or is around that neighborhood could not still be involved.
Well, we also didn't know, did he stalk her at their house and follow them back to her house?
Yes.
So they were looking for cigarette butts or footprints or anything. Another glove. You don't know. But I think now we know exactly what they were doing. So that's a good move.
Yep. Huge news. Cheryl, I could talk to you for hours. I cannot wait to someday see you again in person, maybe CrimeCon, maybe not, but sometime I just want to sit there and I want to sip on a glass of whiskey and talk about life with you.
That sounds great to me, sugar. We'll do it.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl, again. I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you. Hopefully in a couple of days, we'll have some news, y'all.
Yes. Bye. Y'all, I love her. I'm a Kansas girl, so even my Kansas accent starts to come back in when I talk to somebody with a Georgia accent. Love her. So smart, so common sense, so intelligent, so much knowledge. So glad she came on. It's also nice to have somebody that agrees with you on almost everything. Man, I wonder if she's right about that single intruder. I really feel like, and I've always felt like, this is somebody close, this is personal, and that more than one person would be involved in it. We're going to see. I'm ready to take the hit. I could care less. All I care about is, where is Nancy? Everybody, thanks for being on. I've got a couple of hits tonight, going to be on News Nation if y'all get it and would like to watch it. Hope to see you there. Glad that you're here. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, may justice be served for Nancy Guthrie.